The world is controlled by people who come from certain bloodlines. The people that are at the top of the food chain in the entertainment business, politics, or just business in general. These people are not at the top just because of their talents. They have been given the permission and have been enabled to reach such positions based on their bloodlines, which goes all the way back to ancient Sumeria or Babylon. To get a deeper understanding of this concept, let's watch a video of a man who knows more than any of us about this topic.
And these bloodlines have a particular DNA. And what is DNA? It's an information field. And they, when they create hybrids and anything like that, they see it as a software program. They don't see it the way we see it. And so the reason that these bloodlines interbreed so incessantly, I mean, we see it with royals, but all these Eastern establishment families of the United States into banking and corporations, they interbreed just the same. It's to hold this information field, which has a certain series of personality traits which the archontic force wants in these hybrids because it makes them work on their behalf without any compassion or empathy or question in terms of the impact and suffering that they make people have. So this information field, this DNA, this hybrid, has the natural order traits that I talked in that wolf's image. It has them deleted. They have the ability to empathize deleted. The ability for remorse deleted. The ability to feel any emotional impact for what they do to others deleted. And what they are describing are psychopaths. These people are psychopaths in our reality on behalf of psychopaths operating outside our reality because they are an expression of this. No empathy, no remorse, no shame. How on earth can you bomb the living shit out of Gaza and have no emotional impact? How can you lie to justify the invasion of countries that kill and maim millions? How can you do that? Only if you have no ability to empathize and you have no emotional consequence for your actions. So, you think politicians are on the world? No, it's something very different, which the major politicians are an expression of. Some know, many don't. And the reason that these hybrids are so, I'll call them the elite for want of a word, are so important is because there is a hybrid genetics. It means, because when you go back, genetics is just an information field, a frequency field. The frequency of the hybrid is closer to the frequency of the archontic entities than the general run of the human population. So the ability to possess, control and dictate their behavior is far more powerful with the hybrids than it is with the general population that have a different genetics. And this is a Swiss clairvoyant called Anton Steiger, who was telling the story of his life in an article. He wasn't talking about any of this stuff, he was just saying experiences he's had. And this was one of them. He can see beyond what we call the physical into the energetic levels. When I see people in business or politics who are particularly trapped by the material world, for example, I notice that they no longer have any light bodies at all. In many of these people, the point of light at the heart chakra, here we go, which is otherwise always present, is no longer visible to me. What do we call psychopaths? Heartless people. Instead, I see something like a layer of shiny tar around them. So, in plain sight, this elite, it's not just arrived in the last few years. There's been a journey. It goes way back further than this, but you can pick it up in this ancient period when these very advanced societies, compared with much of the rest of the world, started to emerge in Mesopotamia, Sumer, Babylon, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China. And these bloodlines came out of these ancient societies. The Chinese emperors used to claim the right to be emperor because of their genetic descendants from the serpent gods. And this is a major place they came out of. Sumer and Egypt, which became Babylon, which is now Iraq. The fact they're bombing the shit out of this place over and over and over and over again is because it has massive energetic, I can't go into it now because it's too long even for the time I've got, but it's got massive energetic significance globally. And they're creating massive energetic mayhem there for much deeper reasons than just on the surface. So these bloodlines started moving up into Europe under different names. They became the hierarchy that established Rome and the Roman Empire. Eventually they started to locate in Britain, and then they had the British Empire. Whenever these bloodlines have focused themselves or located themselves, a freaking empire has followed. We now have the American Empire, though they will not call it that. And eventually, as this virus spreading, this influence spreading reached a certain global point, we had global Babylon. And global Babylon came when all the European powers, not least the British Empire, went walkabout all over the world, creating all the bloody colonies. And at that point, there was a resistance to the colonies, and they appeared to pull back and let the empires fade. That was only on the surface. What did I say right at the start? The best form of slavery is if you don't tell them. What actually happened is what was left out in those countries when the empires apparently receded were the bloodline under different names, the secret society network which manipulates them and their agents into power, and they've gone on controlling those countries ever since. The United States, major world power on the surface, controlled from Europe on the secret society level of the network. And what they've created, which we have today, is a vast web with the archontic inner sanctum dictating out through these various organizations, which I'll get to as we go through the day, a policy, a global direction of society to more and more centralization of power, more and more control, more and more surveillance, more and more takeover of everything, and more inversion of the natural order. And they have the hidden with the secret societies, the deep secret societies, and then the hidden has a cusp where it meets the seen. And there you see organizations like the Bilderberg Group, the Club of Rome, the Trilateral Commission, and the Council on Foreign Relations in America. And then from the cusp of the hidden meeting the seen, you come out into the real scene, which are countries and agencies of government. And they are making decisions and introducing policies which on the face of it appear to be made on their decision, on their say-so, but where it started was here, coming out from the center of the web. And that's why the same things can happen all over the world at the same time. The virus spreading, that's what it's been. So, we have these apparently different aspects of the hidden and religion operating in isolation. They're not. They're all worshipping the same God. Some know, some don't. It's bloodline Satanists. As I've gone through this 25 years, again and again, when I've followed the trail of people in power, I have found members of secret societies, of course. I have found Satanists, and I've found pedophiles. And those three things come together in ways that I'm going to describe. Behind it is this archontic force, like I say. And the here today, gone tomorrow people, even those that have some awareness of what's happening, they are the gophers that introduce what starts out in the hidden. And Satanists are interacting with these entities. When they talk about, I've talked to Satanists, former Satanists all over the world, who've given me chapter and verse on how it all works. And they are, in these rituals, interacting with these archontic gods, these archontic demonic entities. And what is happening is, in the Archon realm, where these major satanic rituals are taking place, in the archontic realm, there are rituals taking place. When I say rituals, there is manipulation of energetic fields taking place to mirror the energetic impact of the rituals that are taking place in the satanic ritual within our reality. And what that does is create an energetic sync, an energetic synchronization, which allows these entities, some of them, to slip through like an energetic gateway, vortex, into this reality for these rituals. I've talked to many Satanists who describe how these entities have manifested at their rituals because of this reason. They use colors, certain colors, because it's all about frequency and wavelength. They're manipulating energy. And you see these colors again and again in the pomp and ceremony of the royal family and stuff like that. And this is David Berkowitz, who was the son of Sam Killer, serial killer in New York many years ago now. And he said in letters to a Christian minister in jail, yeah, I did it, but I did it on behalf of a satanic coven. And he said this in one of his letters, absolutely spot on. Satanists are peculiar people. They aren't ignorant peasants or semi-literate natives. Rather, their ranks are filled with doctors, lawyers, businessmen, and basically highly responsible citizens. They are not a careless group who are apt to make mistakes, but they are secretive and bonded together by a common need and desire to mete out havoc on society. It was Aleister Crowley who said, I want blasphemy, murder, rape, revolution, anything bad, low vibrational energy, suppress the energetic sea in which we are interacting. And this satanic network goes into politics, it goes into banking, it goes into the media. Of course not everybody, not even nearly everybody, but key people that are directing society. This is a Swiss banker quoted in a magazine a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now, in the Russian magazine Novy Den. These people, he's talking about bankers, are corrupt, sick in their minds, so sick they are full of vices, and those vices are kept under wraps on their orders. Many are into Satanism. When you go into some banks, you see these satanistic symbols. My God, you do. Like the Rothschild Bank in Zurich. These people are controlled by blackmail because of the weaknesses they have. They have to follow the orders or they will be exposed. They will be destroyed or even killed. And at the top of the list I saw recently in professions of psychopaths were bankers. Now, this bloodline passes through what we call history. And it just so happens, because it's an information field and it's a personality field and it gets people in a certain personality type. This is Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Impaler, who was one of the most famous Satanists ever. He used to impale people and just let them slowly die. And he was a member of something called in its short name, the Royal Court of the Dragon, which started out in ancient Egypt. And he is the man, because he was such a Satanist, that Dracula, the Bram Stoker Dracula, was based upon. It just turns out that she is a descendant of Vlad Dracul through Mary of Teck, her grandmother. And this is how the bloodline comes through, and these are satanic bloodlines. These satanic bloodlines, it's in the blood, it's in the information field. And Prince Charles has actually publicly talked about his genetic descendants from Vlad Dracul in Transylvania. And then you go across the Atlantic, these are descendants of Vlad Dracul. No wonder they have no empathy. They go doing their satanic rituals at places like Bohemian Grove in Northern California, worshipping a 40-foot stone owl, the implications and symbolic nature of which will be coming along. All these people, this is Moloch, one of the ancient gods that they used to, in the Bible it talks about sacrificing children through fire to Moloch. That's Moloch. And what we're seeing, talk about entrainment, where you can be pulled into a frequency and that frequency starts to influence you. All over the place now you're seeing satanic imagery. In Grammys Go Satanic, the satanic stage shows, videos, and all that stuff. Here's the Thriller, all about kind of Satanism with the serpent eyes with Michael Jackson. They're making vampires sexy through things like Twilight. Then we have Halloween, we're just coming up to, Satanism Light. It's pulling people in. The real Halloween sees phenomenal numbers of children, and others, but children, sacrificed all over the world. It's one of the great satanic ritual days. And now they've got kids turning it into a form of Christmas, which is another form of their ritual, which I'll come to later. And the real trick or treat was when the Druids knocked on people's doors and demanded a sacrifice of a girl, and then, sacrificed her, killed her, and burnt her on the bone fire, where bonfire comes from. And now we're having kids do it. Trick-or-treating. It's pulling kids into this frequency. And here we have in America a satanic temple to distribute materials to school children in Florida. And there was an Australian Satanist who, just before he died, wrote a long document about Satanism and its influence. Not as an apology, he supported it. And one of the things he said was that they do rituals on particular points on the Earth's energy field, particularly powerful vortexes, and they do their really dark, horrific rituals because they are seeking to lower the vibrational frequency of the energy field, the energy sea in which we interrelate. And this is what he said. What is most people do not realize is that Satanism is a ritually based practice, and that this repetition has over time left strong impressions upon the morphic field. Control the sea and you control the fish. It's all about frequency suppression to keep us in density.
If you're still watching the video, please hit the like button and hit the notifications bell as well. So that was a great explanation of how deep these bloodlines actually go. So there was a book called The 13 Bloodlines, and in this book it actually outlines the families who apparently control the world. But here's the thing, I don't believe that's still the final level. I think there's another 1 or 2 level above these families that we will never see, and who actually run these other elite families that we think run the world. But nonetheless, you can guarantee the fact that these other families also come from certain bloodlines, which puts them above these other 13. I showed Anderson Cooper earlier, and he's a good example because the average person would never think that he comes from an elite bloodline, and the fact that he was also a part of CIA for a while. He joined CIA for a little bit. They make it sound like, oh, it wasn't anything serious, but I can guarantee you that he played a more important role there, and that's why he's been put on CNN, because that way he can directly control the minds of millions of people and put narratives out there without actually being questions. Look, I don't know why people expect honesty from CIA. That's like an oxymoron. You expect honesty and transparency from a secret service? Are you kidding me? They have no reason to tell you who does what there, alright? And neither does he or can he. He's taken the oath. He cannot speak what he actually did there or the things that he knows. And he was picked because he belongs to the Vanderbilt family, who was at one point called the Crown family or the royal family of the United States, alright? This is not some random guy that was picked and put in the CIA and then put on CNN. That's how it is. It's all bloodline related. Look at Eminem. He's related to a Welsh king. Are you kidding me? And by the way, I do not think that's his only famous relative, but that's just the limited information they have allowed us to access and actually find. God knows who else he's related to. Don't be surprised. I mean, I showed the picture earlier of all these political people being related to each other. That's how it is with every hierarchy and whoever is at the top of the food chain. The people at the top are related to some sort of elite bloodline. If not, they are related to people who took the oath and did their evil duties properly. But nonetheless, they've got their hands on every sphere of life, of the modern life, especially with technology. It's become even easier for them to control everything. And yes, they control the whole matrix that we live in this dimension. Thanks for listening. I'm out. Peace.